Clinched Up, episode 4? No, episode 2. Sorry, guys. Haven't been out. Haven't been doing podcasting at all lately. If you guys watch the other podcast, The House of Hair, haven't done it in about a week and want to pump these out every week. I fought last weekend in Iowa, my first time fighting outside of California. Let's just say I got my butt kicked. First time officially getting my butt kicked. No, I fought at the TBAs. I fought against in 195 weight class. Not doing that again. And tournaments are different, really different, right? There's like 600 fights. First of all, TBAs, awesome experience just to go. So we're in a hotel in Iowa, and we're just waiting. We're waking up, we're eating, we're watching fights. When I say there's fights all day, it's literally all day, one right after another. There's 4 rings, an amazing tournament. If you're new to Muay Thai and you haven't experienced TBAs, I suggest you really go next year, right? And awesome. Like, we've seen, it was talents of C class to A class, and it was all different talents, and it was still fun to see even the C class. Like, even those guys that were wild, it was still fun to see, right? It was just a cool experience. It didn't end so well. I lost my fight. It was just different. Like, I like to tell myself that it was my first time getting rocked, so I was shocked. No, I just got fucking rocked. First 30 seconds, boom! I just, that noise, right? Like someone just let out of a bomb. Like, I felt it in my ears. I blew my eardrums. Went to the doctor, blew my eardrums. So that's always fun. And, but yeah, first 30 seconds, I was rocked. And then in my head, I'm like, all right, you're rocked. Clinched up, clinch up, clinch up. Clinched up with Jesse Diaz, the show. Can't even clinch up. No, but I'm trying to just grab onto him and stay there. But instead, I went to 50-50, basically hand on bicep, hand on the back of the head, and just holding him like this while he's just hitting me. So I'm just sitting there in the middle, and he's just hitting me, kneeing me. I got one knee off, a few knees off, but he was just pummeling me. Uppercut, overhand, uppercut, boom, boom, boom. And it's in your head, you're telling yourself, grab him, hug him. I don't know why. I didn't. It didn't compute. And I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't do it. You know, it's funny because it's cliche, right? They always say the Tyson saying, everybody has a plan till you get hit. Well, I had a plan, and then I got hit. I was looking sharp on the pads. I was feeling good. And then when they said, all right, your numbers are coming up, your bout numbers coming up, come to the ring, it's like that fight momentum in the head that like, hey, you got to go kill now, just didn't turn on. And then I sealed the ring. So when you seal, if you don't know what sealing the ring is, before a Muay Thai fight, tradition, you seal the ring out of respect, and you go around the ring once, say the prayers, and then and that's when you start. That's when the fight starts. I didn't like wake up. Like, it was just a weird feeling because you're in the back, you're warming up with the whole hotel's full of fighters, nothing but fighters, and you're waiting to fight. And they start off that day. They started on about 300, so there's like 600 fights that whole week. On the last, they're on 300. I was fighting 442. My bout was 442. And hey, I didn't get concussed that bad. I remember my bout number. But they're like, all right, guys, we're on be ready. Fighters that are on 4-3-3 to 4-4-2, 4-4-3. Be ready to fight. We're not gonna be calling them in order. So I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm just like, I'm trying to stay motivated. Not motivated. I'm trying to stay focused, right? And then they're like, all right, coach is like, all right, we got to go to the ring. We got to go check when we're fighting. Or we have to be ready. So we go, and I'm walking, and I still don't even feel like I'm fighting. Like I don't feel like I'm about to fight. I don't feel like I'm about to get in the ring. And then I walk by my opponent. It's not like you're in different locker rooms and you do the walkout, right? Totally different experience of fighting. It's like, it was so nonchalant, if that makes any sense. Like, it was just like, all right, let's go do this thing. And it didn't flip. It didn't turn on. And then to make matters worse, first 30 seconds, it didn't turn on. I wasn't thinking right, didn't keep my distance, and boom, got fucking hit. And just got beat up. The rest of they stopped it in the second round, and it was an experience. It was fun. I think I'm finally waking up today. Like, no, I think I'm finally like getting back to normal. Like, let it all come out. Like, let it just sit with me. Right. My daughter just seen me get my ass whooped. For people that are new to the gym, this is my first fight back, and they're like, look, they're seeing me lose. Right. Like, I was doing good before the pandemic, and then I come back to these people that are new to the gym because Strike is growing. We're getting bigger. We're way bigger than what we were. The Strike Fitness in Los Banos, California, guys. That's a plug. But we're getting bigger, so there's new people. That's Coach Jesse. Like, it's different. It feels different, right? And I get my butt kicked. And it was a lot to take in. No matter how many years I've been competing in sports, losing still sucks, right? Still sucks. No matter how mature I become, no matter how ready or how many times I've dealt with it, it still sucks. I still don't want this to happen. And I know this podcast is not about me. It's about Muay Thai in America, but I am trying to become a fighter. I'm trying to become a professional fighter. I'm trying to fight. I'm trying to have a good career. I love Muay Thai. There's a reason why I'm doing a Muay Thai show. There's a reason why. And I love it, but it's so fucking cruel at the same time. It's real. It's real. Like, this shit is real. The truth came out that day. And I'm not ready for an experienced guy like that. Or next time I will be. I wasn't ready for an experienced guy like that. Like, my last Muay Thai fight, right when I stepped into the ring, I knew I was going to win that fight. This one, I just looked across the ring and I'm like, wake the fuck up, Jesse. Didn't wake up. Didn't get knocked out, but I didn't put on a good performance at all. But it is what it is. I'm not going to be able to fight at the IKF Classic in Florida, which sucks because of the eardrums and just to be safe, right? But August, we're looking at August, hopefully. See what happens, maybe a local card. But it's I'm back. So I'm going to be pumping these out. I'm pumping these out every week. And that's it. I'll move on from it. But you guys, I love Muay Thai. It's still one of my favorite things to do. It's still, the fight did teach me. I learned more from getting my butt kicked than winning, right? There's so much I've learned. And I can't wait to fight again. But today's show, we have Troy Trouble Jones, knockout artist, who the guy has like a 95% knockout rate. He fought on the Triumphant 11 card, knocked out his opponent, Miguel Padilla, and got to meet him at the TBAs. Really nice guy. It's funny because I was walking walking out after I lost. He's like, "Hey, did you win?" I go, "Nah, I lost." he goes, it's the name of the game. And I think every person that has experience in this has said that to me already. Like I was running right now, and the professional boxer, Andy Vincent, I'm running and he sees me running and he goes, like he basically was saying, like he fought guys that were way more experienced than him and he got his butt kicked and when he was an amateur. And it's people tell you that, but at the same time, it doesn't feel good at the same time. But yeah, it's funny because I interviewed him, then I saw him at the TVAs, which is really cool, really nice guy. And then Dr. Jason Park. Oh man, guys. You guys, I do another podcast called The Hassle of Hair about inspirational people and people that are just trying to go after their dreams. And I've interviewed close to 70 people now. You guys, this was one of my favorite interviews. The guy has coached Brian Ortega. He's on the Ultimate Fighter show as a coach. He's coached Anderson Silva, Khalil Roundtree. Like the guy has some names that he's coached, the gyms he's been at, like Black House. How am I forgetting? Oh, Boxing Works. Like, and another thing, at the TBAs in Iowa, I seen Boxing Works. There was a few people that stood out to me. One was, he wasn't from Boxing Works. This guy was like 300 pounds and leg kicked the shit out of some dude and just dropped him with one kick. This guy ended up winning the C class in his weight class, like super heavyweight. I don't know, but he won the C class. Then there's a girl from Boxing Works. I didn't get her name, but holy crap. A division, A class, and she was a fucking tank. Kept her distance, and she fought how I was supposed to fight. Right, the girls that she fought were way taller than her. But the girl from Boxing Works was really good. There's a few people that I saw that the Boxing Works had some good guys, good girls and good guys. But yeah, Dr. Jason Park, awesome interview. Like he goes into his whole story, and it's an awesome interview, guys. And but thank you guys. If you guys are here for them, thank you guys for listening. I'm going to be pumping these out every week about American Muay Thai and just news in the game, and obviously I've talked about my career, I guess. But there was an announcement. You guys, Triumphant is killing the game. Triumphant 12, Eddie Abasolo versus Alex Bublé. Like, holy shit. I don't even know if I'm saying Bublé right. But I've seen Alex fight before. I think he's from Germany. But I've seen him fight Sam. He fought. I saw him fight on the Muay Thai Grand Prix versus Omar Sam. Lost that fight, but this guy, he brings it. He brought it for the first, he brought it early, and he kind of, I don't know, I believe it was a last minute fight, not for sure, but he kind of gassed out at the end, and that's when Omar Sam took it. He gave Omar Sam some problem. Omar Sam is a really good young talent. Like, this guy is really good. I don't know if he's active, but if he's going to start being active again, but this guy from France, really good. I know this is American Muay Thai, but Eddie Abasolo is facing Alex Bublé, and this is the fight that I remember Alex from. Viking-looking dude, and I think it should be a fun fight. You got evasive, really calm, having fun in there, Eddie Abasolo versus some guy that is just tenacity. Like, gonna bring it the whole entire fight. It's gonna be a fun fight. And it's a world stage, right? Like, you guys, this is what Muay Thai needs in America. Like, these fights, these cards, like the way Triumphant is doing them. And I can't wait to see what Lion Fight is gonna do and how they're gonna bring them. And yes, Triumphant they have American. So far, after the pandemic, like so far they've had American headliners, and two of them Eddie was on. And it's like Eddie's gonna stay active, and Eddie is fun to watch. His last fight, he had so much fun. You could just tell, like, he's smiling in there. Like, I want to get like that. I want to sit in there and be like, all right, let's have some fun today. Like, you could say that you want to do that. You could say that you think that you would be like that in the ring against another guy, but the composure that Eddie Abasolo shows to do that and look like he's chilling and hanging out in the ring with another guy, just throwing fists at each other and having a good time. Like, he was laughing in Triumphant 10. Like, he was laughing in there for 5 rounds. Like, the guy's like getting, like, it's so crazy to me because going off of like my last fight, right, where I'm in there and like, holy shit, I've been fucking rocked. Like, don't get fucking knocked out. Like, you got to think of all those things. Like, you got to think of bones getting thrown at you. And Eddie Abasolo is just in there, cool, calm, collected, silky smooth, obviously his nickname, and just having fun, laughing. You guys, that takes years. Takes years and a different kind of person. Special. But Alex Bublé, coming from Germany, it's a really, really, really fun fight. It's going to be in Mexico, I believe. Let's see the day. But Eddie just announced it. And it was kind of, I think he announced it first before Triumphant. So it was kind of like, okay. But Triumphant 12, going to be August 7th. And I know of some names that are also going to be on that card. And it's looking good for America, right? It's going to be really, 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 really fun. Maybe, hey, shoot, maybe me and my wife will go out there, get some tickets, go to Mexico. I need to get my passport. But if you guys never heard elbow to a face live, an elbow to a face, or even a kick to the head, like if you've never heard, like, I don't know, there's something different about elbows. Like I seen, I don't even know how to say his last name. I'll never forget this because this was my first like experience of watching professional Muay Thai. Ian Scusa, out of CSA. I think that's a Souza. Scusa. I need to get his name right. But that guy, holy crap. That guy was throwing elbows to the guy's head. His opponent didn't belong in there. It was like the San Diego Versus card. And hearing elbows to the head for the first time, holy shit. It's different. It's scary. But yeah, I want to go to that. I'm actually thinking about it right now if I could go to that August 7th card. Coach, I'll be gone. Won't be at the gym August 7th. But you guys, I can't wait to see who else is fighting on that card. I can't wait to break it down. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for Triumphant. And I had the chance to say hi to the one of the owners, and I didn't. I was just so focused on the fight, and I was worried about me fighting that it was hard to have fun and socialize. So I guess that was my problem. Maybe I needed to go in there relaxed. But no, but they're doing really good, I think. Like if you look at they're keeping the tradition too, respectful, right? They're not. If you look at BKFC, Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, they're promoting it like the old way of MMA. If you guys remember the old days of MMA, it was blood. Even they just announced their next fight is using sex, right? Sex symbols, basically. I mean, you have both women are some of the hottest women in MMA, and you're getting them to fight. Obviously, you know why it's going to sell. But I feel like Triumphant doesn't have to do that. Muay Thai doesn't have to do that. You have high caliber fights that you could put on. And Triumphant's doing it right. Respectful, tradition. Like it's awesome. They're on the right way. If we could just all come together as a Muay Thai community and build off of this. Boom, 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 boom. Like it's it's gonna grow. But they're doing it right. And I can't see what can't wait to see what Lion Fight is gonna bring out. You know? But yeah. But this week, kind of shut down I don't know, not purpose, like it was purposely because of, I had to take a little bit of time off because of it's hard because I don't even know if, I was concussed. Like the doctor said I was concussed. I haven't had a concussion since football. But you're when you're fighting, obviously you're getting concussed no matter how many times. Like no matter how light you get hit in the head, you're still getting hit in the head, right? But this one was a little different, and I had to like take it easy a little bit this week. I guess that's the best way to explain it. I don't know. But I had some time to just do shit, and I think I found a new hobby. I'm gonna be a metal detector, guys. I got into metal detecting, and it's a thing. I'm gonna get a metal detector, and Sundays I'm gonna see if my daughter wants to go with me. I live in Los Baños, and there's a public land called Panoche Hills, and I'm gonna go out there and see what they have out there. See if I can find some treasure. There's a new movie on Netflix called The Dig, and it's about archaeology, and this guy's like digging up this grave right before World War II. It's a really good movie. And then I was also watching something else that had to do about treasure. Oh, I'm listening to Daniel Barbarisi. He's a writer that I like. I actually interviewed him on my other podcast called The Hassle of Hair. Go check it out. But I've been waiting for his book about this. It's called I'm listening to it. I don't even know what it's called. But it's about this rich guy from near Yellowstone. He hides his treasure. He hides treasure for people to find, and he writes a poem about the treasure with clues in it. And people just go looking for it. And it's this whole thing. And it was so cool. That's what kind of got me started on it. And then I went down this rabbit hole of metal detecting, and that's what I want to do. But this book, it's an awesome book. It goes in how crazy is that? Some rich guy just drops like $1 million worth of treasure, and just tells people, "Hey, I wrote some clues in a poem. Go look for it." It's so far it's so good. It kind of like he goes back and forth between talking about going to look for it, and then how treasure, like different treasures in the United States, and how some treasures got here. Treasure hunting, right? It's a book about treasure hunting. It's called Chasing the Thrill. Daniel Barbarisi. Really good book so far. And yeah, so on Sundays, I will be going metal detecting and treasure hunting. But yeah. And it's been just a thing in my head lately. But yeah, guys, I want to thank you guys for listening. And there's going to be more content coming out soon. I wanted to bring this out real quick this week. Don't really have any segments, but I just talk about the TBAs, I guess, my last fight. That was fun. You guys check out the TBAs. You should experience a Muay Thai tournament. And I got to meet, I gotta plug them. So they're this, so if you guys don't know, I'm into punk. I fucking love punk. Grew up with it. And I love the Misfits. Misfits are one of my favorite bands. I've seen them live. And if you know Danzig, I love Danzig. And these guys, I'm walking, they had booths up and different, come on, Jesse, talk. Different clothing, different. They had Muay Thai Addict there. I met the Muay Thai Addict guy, and it says youth. if I could find it. Come on, Jesse. But yeah, they had different boots on walking by. They had this misfit shirt that said Teep Madness, and it was pretty sick. It was like Muay Thai based, and I bought it. It actually shrunk because I put it in the dryer. God damn it. And gave it to my daughter, of course. And come on, find them. I had them. Youth crew. Youth crew clothing. I'll find them. I'll plug them later. But you guys, I met them. It's pretty cool. They're like all punk based, and it was dope, right? But enjoy the episode. Troy Trouble Jones, Dr. Jason Park. I love you guys. Thanks, you guys, for tuning in. If you guys love Muay Thai, I'm going to be putting out more content. Follow, subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, Jesse the Hassle Diaz. Subscribe to the audio. Subscribe to the YouTube. Subscribe to my Instagram. Notifications on. If you guys love Muay Thai, you know of people that also love American Muay Thai. Tell them about the podcast. And also, if you guys know Muay Thai fighters that want to talk Muay Thai, send them my way. I'm more than willing to have them on. Products, Muay Thai products, people that are making Muay Thai products, people that are coaching, people that are fighters, whoever's in the game that wants to talk American Muay Thai, send them my way. I love you guys. Thank you guys for listening. Enjoy the episode. Enjoy the interview. Peace. Have with us today Troy Trouble Jones, just coming off of a highlight KO over Miguel Padilla. Watching that fight, the commenters were saying that you were telling them that you're going to take it easy in the first round, read the fighter. But did that all change when Miguel Padilla just came out just with a bunch of pressure?
Yeah, you have to adapt, man. I mean, that's the name of the game. You go in with one thing you want, and then the fight happens. You have to be able to adjust on the fly. And that's exactly what happened. I just collected the data that I needed, and then I went to work.
Yeah, you downloaded it pretty quick. And
I picked things up quickly. That was my 71st fight. So, I mean, I've been in the ring a lot. I have a lot of ring time. So I understand. And pressure doesn't throw me off. So you can press me all you want. I've been pressed by the best in the world. So it's nothing to me. I just take it, block, take the data in, look and find my openings.
Yeah, and watching the knockout, I've watched it a few times now. There was 4 key strikes. It was 3 crosses, but the one thing that like before the knockout that was like horrifying to see was that over elbow that you got right to his face in the corner.
Oh yeah. I thought him with that one for sure.
Yeah, that was awesome to see. And your background, you're an IFMA gold medalist. You've had an amazing amateur career. Now you're 14-2 in professional fighting. Before you started fighting, you were a college athlete, a college football player, and we're starting to see Muay Thai get bigger, and we're starting to see athletes as yourself jump into the sport. How much did that play a factor into you learning fast as you did in the sport?
It definitely helped a lot, just because I already know how to move my body. I know how to control my body. I'll have explosive training. So I've been doing that my whole life. So it all translates. Obviously, you still got to learn like how to kick, how to punch, how to elbow, how to knee, how to clinch. You got to learn the technique still, but like you can pick it up a lot quicker because your body already knows how to move athletically. And so just the technique and putting the time in. Usually, I mean, for me being at the college level, like you have to have the ability to work hard because you can't make it to college. I mean, what is it? 1% of high school athletes make it to college.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to work hard. So that helped a lot, just having that knowledge of watching film and break how to break film. I played defense, so we watched a lot of film. We broke down a lot of film, so I already knew how to break down film. I knew how to find certain tendencies, and like obviously it has to translate into fighting, but the basics is already there.
Yeah, and it makes sense because you just said that you download things pretty quick, and you've been downloading offenses since you were young. So
Yeah, long time. Yeah.
that's awesome to hear. And you were part of Kevin Ross's last fight. How was that experience seeing him fight and being part of his career, like his last fight? How was it? What was the experience being on the last card?
It was amazing, man. Like I looked up to Kelvin for sure. Like he was one of those. Like I mean, obviously, he's the main guy in American Muay Thai. So when you look up online, because that's what I did. As soon as I got into the sport, I'm like, all right, let's see who's doing stuff in this sport. And seeing that there was a professional fighter, a couple of them can't stop crazy. That whole group, and Kevin Ross is the main guy. So like I watched him. He's judged one of my amateur fights before too, and I've also got to train with him at CSA. So I knew him. I've trained with him. I sparred with him. It was amazing. I looked up to him just watching him as he progressed and just gave us amazing fights all the time. Like regardless of he wins or loses, if he's bleeding or not, like it wouldn't be a Kevin Ross fight without blood. So it was just it was amazing.
That's awesome. And you also fight for glory. Not only are you in Muay Thai, but you knock people out in glory kickboxing as well.
No matter where I go, I'm gonna knock them out. So it is what it is.
How is that like transitioning back and forth? Because you fought Muay Thai and kickboxing for a while. How is that? What are the differences? The key differences between those?
The pace, the different cadences. I mean, but that's if you're going against someone who's a traditional Muay Thai fighter. So like the guy I went against, he came out really fast. So that was just like a kickboxing fight. So, but there's the first round usually is slower down, like you're filling each other out and tossing up kicks back and forth and like that. But I mean, there's no elbows in glory, obviously. You can't clinch as long, but you can still clinch. It's not really that hard for me to go back and forth, to be honest. One I can use elbows, one I can't, so it's easy.
Yeah, and you're coming from the Minnesota, and
yeah, Minnesota Martial Arts Academy.
Yeah, Minnesota Martial Arts Academy, and how hard is it to find training partners out there for Muay Thai specifically?
I mean, it's not really that hard. I mean, there's a lot of, if you haven't known about Minnesota kickboxing or Minnesota Muay Thai or MMA, you wouldn't really understand how many good fighters that we have here. We have a lot of different gyms. We got the Cellar. They are one of the biggest teams that go to the TBAs. Spartan has another big team that goes to the TBAs. The Academy, we had a big team that goes to the TBAs. We won a lot of TBA titles too. So it's not like there's not fighters here. There is plenty. You're just in a different region, so it's a different pocket of fighters over there.
Yeah. And
so it's not hard at all.
And growing up, who was well, did you watch Muay Thai when you were younger, or did you find how did you find Muay Thai? That's the question.
I watched like every other movie. Every kid's watch Kickboxer, Bloodsport, and like you see like little snippets of like Muay Thai and like, oh, what is that? I'm like, oh, okay. And then I found out that like Paco was a Muay Thai guy in Bloodsport, and then Tong Po and like stuff like that. So there was like an interest in it. And then once I was done and graduated from school, I came back up into the cities, and I literally just Googled a gym And this is the that I came. That was the first one that popped up, and I saw like Brock Lesnar, and Greg Nelson. I mean, you can see on the here, there's plenty of
Yeah.
John Shake, all that. Like, so I picked a perfect gym to come just fresh out of the gate. So
That's awesome. And going from football to Muay Thai and now training Muay Thai and seeing what it's done for you, you've had a great career so far and gonna be a even more great career as it goes on. How has Muay Thai changed your life?
yeah, I mean, I got to see the world, man. Like, I would have never. I've lived in Thailand. I've seen 20 different countries. I've fought in 20 different countries. I've been around the world at least twice. So that aspect has changed my life, and just being like, I'm more humble now, like, because there's always someone better than you are in the world. So it's like you just got to keep staying hungry and training, and like just seeing and living over there and seeing different cultures. Like you just get a different perspective of life when you branch outside of your comfort zone and outside of America, and you go start to venture off and see these different areas and see what they care about, and what type of values they have, what kind of moral standards they have. It's amazing. Like, it's dope. So it changed in the ways in a lot more than one way for sure.
And go seeing Thailand because obviously you fought in Thailand in the beginning of your career, right?
I fought
Pro
and
career.
won yeah. So I've been there before too, but so 2015 I was on the USA team. I think I was like training for like 3 years, and I won the gold medal after 3 years of training.
That's so
So and
crazy.
then
So let me people to understand like the people that you're going against at IFMA have been
they're all
training.
pros.
Yeah, they're training their whole entire lives, and it's like a big deal in that their countries, especially
Yeah, oh yeah,
Thailand.
oh yeah,
And
oh yeah.
and you go in there with 3 years of experience and just take gold. Like it's so mind boggling, and that just goes to show.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know I was good until I won that. Like, because I mean, I'm sure you know this because you fight. I don't know how much you have.
I've had five amateur.
Five. So like, all right. So you're going into your fights. You might not be fighting the best person in your weight class.
Yeah,
That's a fact. You don't know. You don't really know because you're only in California, right?
yeah,
So you're only fighting the people in California. There are some fucking killers all around the country, but you're only fighting people in California. So you
yeah.
don't really know if you're fighting the best yet. So when I was fighting, I was going to Arizona, Iowa, New York. I was going all over the place fighting, and I didn't know that I was fighting the best people yet. So I'm like, all right, am I really good, or am I just fighting some scrubs, or am I fighting some subpar good guys? But when I went over there and I seen like, I didn't know it was pros either when I first went over there. I didn't know that till afterwards. And then like, yeah, like they're telling me like, yeah, that dude is just so and so, and he's fought X amount. He got like 50 pro fights and blah blah blah. Yeah, like I am really good at this. Like, just put it into perspective. Like, they just gave me the drive to like want to do more, to train more, train harder, because I was I was being successful. I was succeeding. I was doing everything that I wanted to do in the sport, and it was like I was going in the right directions. I don't know if you ever read The Alchemist, the book The Alchemist.
No, not yet.
So it's about following your omens and following your path, and everything's just good. Good things was just happening. So it was just like I was on the right path.
Yeah.
So just put things into perspective for me to keep going.
Awesome. And I don't want to take much more of your time. I got one final question, and that's what's next for you after that huge KO, winning the championship belt. What's next?
You know, a lot of people have been asking me that, like, and I've been trying to be more in the moment, more mindful, and trying to enjoy what's going on right now. I'm not even worried about it. I want to enjoy my title. I want to enjoy the win. I want to enjoy like my time with my family and all that. So I can't tell you because I'm not even thinking about it. I'm just want to be right here where I'm at right now.
Awesome. Troy Jones, Troy Trouble Jones, I just want to thank you for doing this, taking time out of your day. Where can people find you on Instagram, anywhere on the internet?
Troy Trouble Jones, Instagram, Google, you'll find me.
Awesome. And you guys, you're looking at somebody that knocks out everybody. He basically 80% is your knockout rate, right?
It was about 90 something.
90. Awesome, man. And
I
thank you
think
again.
I got 14 wins, 12 knockouts.
Well, it went up with the last fight, so yeah, it should be in the 90s then.
So
Yeah.
14 wins, 12 knockouts.
Yeah.
And I've been dropped twice. So the only 2 losses. So either you're going to come, someone's getting dropped.
Awesome. Can't wait to see you fight again. I know you said you're just living in the moment, but I can't wait to see you fight again. Thank you again, Troy, for doing this. And Troy Jones,
on Instagram, you'll find it. I'm sure I'll post about it.
Awesome. I have with us Dr. Jason Park, Muay Thai coach for big names such as Brian Ortega, Anderson Silva, Khalil Roundtree, and the prospects MMA twins Josh and John Wayne Kim.
Yes, I have worked with John, Sean, and John. I talk to them often. Yeah. They're going to be really amazing.
And then he's also a physical therapist too, working with athletes on injuries and such, like things like sports medicine, basically.
Yes.
And when I found that out, I started thinking, because you've worked with Anderson Silva, and Chris Weidman is just starting to training after the shin injury.
Yes.
And seeing Anderson Silva, were you his physical therapist during that time when?
Actually, it's a very funny story. I was not his physical therapist principally. So what had happened was, my story is I started with Brian Poulter really early on when I was 15 years old down at Boxing Works. So this is now 19 years going on to 20 that since I started at Boxing Works. And so like I had competed as an amateur Muay Thai fighter, accumulated about 18 Muay Thai fights in different settings all over the country, and a few outside of in Thailand and in other parts of the world. And then I had to retire due to an eye injury. I tore my retina. I was already in my doctorate of physical therapy program at USC. And during that time, I lost myself. And then because, Muay Thai, a lot of people like to say Muay Thai is life, but it is really true. When you lose it, not on your terms, you lose a lot of structure, right? Because, even as an amateur, you're training for many hours every day. It's like 5-6 hours a day, training with a routine, and all of that being gone in a second, it disrupts your life. It's why retirement is very hard. And I was already in the next phase of my career. So for me, one of my former fighters, he was an amateur fighter, now lives in Miami, Jake Poss, was turning pro. And on his pro debut, he called me and said, I want you back. I need your guidance. I need you to take me through the professional career. And so in my second year of my graduate program, I started coaching him. He transitioned into a professional. And then he led me into Black House because he was training with Black House. And that's how I started working with all the fighters there. I started working with James Montasri, Khalil Roundtree before they got into the UFC. And because of that, in that proximity in Black House, I got to meet Anderson Silva and watch him. So we were all watching together as a gym when Anderson's leg broke, right? And we were all together at the UFC gym in Torrance, and watching, our hero, someone who set the standard for us, just like Kevin Ross has set the standard for American Muay Thai for such a long time. Anderson is also that kind of a pioneer who carried a whole generation on his back. And so to watch it live, on the live broadcast, we all kind of saw a transcendental moment. And, incidentally, I was going through my last rotation at USC. I always want to go work with professional sports. So I went to work with the toughest problems. And so one of my big issues was working with ACL injuries, Achilles repair injuries, because watching Kobe Bryant, I knew how devastating that could be. And incidentally, right after Anderson broke his leg, I started at clinched, which is a very famous sports medicine orthopedic group here in Los Angeles. They work with all the professional sports here. And 1 week into my rotation was Anderson's 1 week out from his surgery, repairing that leg break. And so I was not a physical therapist at that time. I was finishing my last rotation, but he happened to come right into that clinic, and I got to see him in a new light. So I had seen him at Black House as a fighter, right? Watching from the side, watching how he trains. Then he broke his leg, and he happened to come to the same clinic I was finishing my last rotation. And so I saw his path as a student physical therapist, watching the main physical therapist who was working with him through the first 4 months of his rehab at the clinic, and then also seeing it as he was returning back from Nick Diaz in the gym. And in that camp, he chose 3 main fighters to work with him for his return fight with Nick Diaz, and that was Jake Pass, James Montasri, and Khalil Roundtree, my first 3 professional fighters. So it just shows, like, even before I worked with him, there was a lot of things that were tying me closer and closer to him. And I'm very blessed to have been able to watch his career from the very beginning, but be able to help him on his journey in the last 5. And you can just see that it's not an overnight thing that most people assume. It's like you just come closer and closer into the fray.
Yeah. That's awesome. And this is not a question. I just want to point out that your career, listening to that, your first gyms were Black House, Boxing Works, Cool Hearts, and the like, your story is just like, you just kept on finding these doors that were opening for you. They're awesome doors. You've had a pretty cool career, and you started as a fighter that got injured and you lost everything. I just want to say that's inspiring, and that's an awesome career that you've had so far. And you're not in your 40s yet, right?
No, sir.
No,
I'm turning 35 this October.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah.
But going back to Muay Thai, American striking in the beginning of MMA was what I grew up with was K1. And it was like, it was brawling. It was let's see who can get the knockout, a bunch of punches, hard kicks, kind of like Dutch style, right? A lot of Dutch. And seeing this Muay Thai wave go over America, what are the changes that you see that Muay Thai has brought to MMA in America?
I think, like anything else, influence comes in waves, right? I know that's a big frustration that I've heard my whole career. I still hear to this day, that there's this tribalism. It's like, oh, it's Muay Thai, or you're with kickboxing, or you're with karate, or you're with MMA. Like, the terms can change, like which groups we're siding with. Although those have stayed pretty constant, but it's like, again, it falls into like, what style are you? And then it becomes, within that style of Muay Thai, are you East Coast, West Coast, right? And I think that's something that I give a lot of credit to my coach, Brian Popejoy, that the vision, like, we didn't know how we would get there. We didn't know the steps that we would have to take, but we always believed that we wanted to compete on a world class, right? And that's, I think, not for the spotlight side of it, but because we wanted that challenge. We wanted to figure out how to bring our skills up to that level and be able to compete on that level. I think watching, fights in Thailand from the golden era, watching K1, that was a big influence on myself as well. Like, I didn't really understand um, the scoring, the pacing of Muay Thai when I was in my teen years. I wanted something fast and explosive. So, you know, I started like training in 2002, right? I went to college and started training in Philadelphia in 2004, right? And graduated college and moved to Thailand in 2008, 2009. So like you could see like that was a transitional period, right? It was going from the golden era of Muay Thai to this post-golden era where there were a lot of great fighters like Adachai, Anawat, Pedek, Yodson Klai. So, that's what I gravitated to, right? Like I just missed the Jordan era. I grew up watching the Kobe era. I knew and respected the Jordan era, but my vision of basketball was post Jordan. Same thing, I think, with Muay Thai. And so for me, K1 was also was coming into its own. And, in those years, 2001, 2002, 2003, K1 Max really grew big. And I would have to say that K1 Max was a huge influence for me. Because you got to see Albert Kraus, then Masato, and then in 2004 you saw Bulkov, right? And you just saw that kind of transition of different styles, right? And if anyone was watching Muay Thai back then, they saw, Albert Kraus and Masato, and these two big like guys who were fighting each other constantly in the semifinals and the finals. And then there was Bulkov who just wiped the floor with everyone in 2004. And it's not a Muay Thai rule set, but it's Muay Thai showcasing its skills within a kickboxing rule set, right? And then soon after, I've been watching Anderson in Shuto, in Pride. I got very lucky in just coming across the DVD of him when he fought his first professional title fight in Japan against Hayato Sakurai. And this just happened to be really early on. I just happened to fall into it because I was looking for a K1 DVD. They gave me a Shuto DVD. But then I followed his whole career as well. And then when he came into the UFC around 2006, 2007, with around the same time as GSP, you could see another transitional moment in MMA, right? And so it's probably not the typical way a lot of people watch Muay Thai, but that's what led me to see, Muay Thai could be a style that wins in all different formats.
Yes.
And I grew deeper into Muay Thai, watched even more. And I'm blessed now to have athletes and work with athletes, right? Either on consulting side of things or as a coach in all of these sports, in Muay Thai, in kickboxing, in Glory, in One, as well as in MMA, in the UFC. So for me, this is like a 15-year journey and goal to be able to showcase what Anderson showed so well, Sleeping and Rich Franklin, of how scary Muay Thai could be in the UFC.
Awesome. And I think we're gonna start seeing the sport of Muay Thai actually getting, like, this actual sport, not just in MMA. We're gonna start seeing it in America, the actual sport of Muay Thai get really bigger. And
one of the big things I kind of took away, and I was talking about this with Kevin's boxing coach, Jose Cital, is, long have I heard the argument that there's no money in Muay Thai. Long have I heard that Muay Thai's time is coming. People just aren't wise to it. And I look at it as like, no, Muay Thai has everything it needs to be very successful and popular, right? And I think when we put it as a dichotomy of Muay Thai versus MMA, Muay Thai versus kickboxing, I always knew that dichotomy it wasn't helping us. It was hurting us. Like, it was creating a divide, because I always saw that when Muay Thai showed well in K1, it exploded in popularity for us, right? That was a big step. When it did well in the UFC with Anderson, it exploded in popularity. I remember I was in Philadelphia. No one knew what Muay Thai was. And then when Anderson and GSP stepped on the scene, the Ultimate Fighter, the first season started, I got hit up left and right for private lessons. And I was just training for 3 years by that point. You know, I wasn't like, I barely started my first smoker, but people's interest got piqued. So that's why I always implore the Muay Thai community not to just like self-isolate. That's very easy to do. It's like, no, look for success in all of these rule sets. And guess what? If Muay Thai is doing well, people will find it very exciting and we will be successful. And that's still
awesome.
my vision today, is to, you know, like I work with all different professional sports, but Muay Thai and boxing have a very special place in my heart. So that's why I push. That's why it was an honor to be there working with Kevin in this last camp, to work with him for these past few years as a physical therapist, later on coach as well, and to be able to help him and walk with him to the ring one last time.
Awesome. And I know you're a busy man. I got two more questions for you. And
Sure.
um, as a fighter, one of the hardest parts is finding good drilling partners. And
Yes.
at Strike Fitness, I'm my coach's gym. We have these twin phenoms. They're 13 years old. They wrestle. They're ranked nationally in wrestling. They're awesome. They're learning Muay Thai, and it's amazing to see. You had the chance to work with twin brothers. How was that experience watching two twin brothers work? What's the difference between regular, like, people that never that are not family, that are drilling with each other, basically training partners, and then watching twin brothers drill together? How was that experience?
You know, it's watching Josh and John, it's very special. You know, they're just so talented, and it's no question that they were asked to be training partners for a lot of different people, because they have a skill set that's so diverse, so varied. You know, it's, you know, mixing in things from taekwondo and karate with a kickboxing style, as well as Muay Thai. Now, as they're transitioning more into MMA, like they just have a very diverse striking style, right? And they're adding that now with a very strong fundamental grappling base. When you watch them train together, they have just such a strong connection. Now, they always joke with me like, we're good, we're great friends, but we don't always have to hang out with each other. But when they train, because they've been training for such a long time and they have this bond, it is very special and very different. Whether they might be happy doing it or not happy doing it. And it just likens to like a post that I just added to my story today, which is you know, another one of my big influences and inspirations, which is the Pedek and Pero, the twins of Sichapo. And I watched them in 2007, 2008, like the fight with Pedek Sichapo when he fought Anawat is one of the biggest blueprints for me, right? And it's definitely a big influence on the style that I carry today. And they're twins, and you can see their special connection when they drill, they compete, because they know each other so well. And we all dream of almost like fighting a mirror version of ourselves,
Yeah.
right? They have that opportunity, you know. And I think drilling partners are such an important thing. It's important to have that base that you're so close with. And then also the other part, the yin to the yang that I always promote for fighters, like you have to have a good foundation of a home gym. You don't want to just be bouncing around where your foundation is, but you do need to go see the world. And that's what I've been blessed with, as you can tell, like, you know, that right away after 2-3 years of training at Boxing Works as my initial base, I had to train at other places like Cool Hearts Muay Thai, like with Team Oyama, because of school, because of internships of where I was. I had to train at different locations, and I learned at every single one of them. And what I love that Brian Popejoy always allowed was he knew that we had 5 great training partners at the gym, and he was my coach through and through, right? I call him constantly, always asking questions, ask how to integrate the information, but he was always open to allow us to train at other places without his supervision sometimes, right? Because he just couldn't make it there. And one of the biggest examples for myself and my training partner at the time, Mike Ellison, was when I got back from Thailand, like Joe Schilling was just coming out of his ACL surgery and he was about to start his big run. And his coach, Mark Komuro, asked Brian if there's anyone around our size that Joe could work with. And we started training and sparring with Joe, and that's a handful. As you can imagine, Joe Schilling is a handful and more, right? But Brian never shied from us going over to the yard and training with Joe, listening to advice from the coaches there, including Mark Komuro. He said, go learn, go listen to other perspectives, and then come back here and continue to elevate it, right? So it's about having a foundational style, having a foundational group of people that you really trust to listen to and integrate information, but also going out and seeing, whether it's at seminars or especially going and training at different camps, right? And planning it out, but seeing different perspectives, seeing different ways to throw a kick, seeing different ways to do the same drills, but with a little tweak. And that's the secret sauce I think a lot of people miss. But you can see that people at the very top, whether it be Kevin Ross, whether it be Anderson Silva, whether it be all the members of the USA Muay Thai team, you know, it's no question that last weekend's show on Triumphant 11 was such a great show because all these athletes followed the model of Kevin Ross, you know, had a base style, trained at different places, competed on an international level on IFMA and then Glory. And because of COVID, we're allowed to come back to fight Muay Thai for this special show. And look at the performances from Becca Irwin to Tierra and Coral to Troy Jones, like, you know, even watching Vidales, like it's no question that USA Muay Thai is becoming more world class, and it's not a secret. Well, it might be a secret, but it's not a unproven recipe for success.
And I think one of the best parts about Triumphant 11 over the weekend was when Asa Tempao just beat Kevin Ross, beat a legend, and he tells him, we got to train. I got to go train with you one day and pick your brain. Or he said something along the lines, I got to drill with you. And that was awesome to hear. Because they just fought in the ring, and now he's saying, can we go train together? It was awesome. And
I mean, he's a incredible friend of mine. Like, you know, I had the honor of serving as the medical team for Team USA. I saw that was like a deficit that we had, and I could best serve the USA Muay Thai team by providing medical sports medicine treatments for our athletes, right, and helping them recover. And like, you know, Ace is someone that I've grown quite close with. Like, I truly believe in him. It's why I pushed Kevin so hard, because I knew that Asa is the example of us in the next generation, right? And you can see it that, you know, this is someone that he looked up to for so long. He's told me this countless times that Kevin Ross was a big inspiration for him, and to fight him was an honor. You know, and you saw immediately he wanted to spend more time with him, whether it be another time in the ring right away, right, and doing a rematch, or training with him, listening to him, whatever way he can get that information and learn from Kevin's experience, he's willing to do, because that's what it takes to take the mantle of being a great in the sport.
Yes. And
like a great example of that for me is always like Kobe Bryant. You know, everyone looks at him as very like brash, arrogant, you know, wanting to put on the show. But the one thing I always would say is watching him and getting to have even a few conversations with him, right, was that competitive drive made him humble enough to ask everyone questions. I think that's something that a lot of people miss. That if you really want to be competitive, you have to be humble enough to listen and to see different perspectives, because that's what you need when you're going up to the world stage.
And it's awesome, because it's just reflection. People need to reflect more. You need to be
Yeah.
able to reflect if you're going to be great at something. And
Yeah.
that brings me to my last question. You've gone from the eye injury, competing in Muay Thai, being part of American Muay Thai, to training these fighters, being a part of their journeys, and being able to see Kevin Ross's last fight and being part of that last fight. And then now on The Ultimate Fighter, being part of that team. You've had this amazing career, and it's not over. You're going to have a still amazing career, but going through all this, how has Muay Thai changed your life?
Muay Thai has given me everything. Everything. Like, I can't imagine a world without it. It's been 19 years since I started. I always say, like, the luck was falling into the right gyms from the very first glance. Like, I didn't have to search out Boxing Works. Like, I looked for something that was close to me that did Muay Thai and boxing. Boxing Works was that first one that I found. Same thing when I went to Philadelphia. Cool Hearts was the first gym I found when I Googled, for a gym. So, like, I always say, like, the luck was I kept falling closer and closer to great teachers. Like, that's what the luck that the universe gave me. But the thing that I can always hold strong to my heart is that I had the conviction to stay at those gyms instead of just bouncing around, not looking outside as the source of the need for change, but looking inward and saying, how can I continue to learn from these great teachers and develop myself? Instead of blaming the external, I blame the internal first, right? But I was lucky. I had great gyms. Like, every single one was a great source from the very beginning. But it's not a overnight success. That's what I tell everyone. It's like, all those moments, competing, having first losses in smokers, losing the finals and TBAs, losing in different spots, having injuries, having setbacks, being fired by different fighters. Like, it sounds glamorous at the end, but it was not an overnight success, and it's not it didn't feel that way. It didn't feel inspirational.
Yeah.
That's why I love talking with Kevin so much, right? Because this is the message he always puts out, that he might be an inspiration, but it doesn't feel like he's inspirational.
Yeah.
Because, like, the training at the end of the day, it's not glamorous. I think COVID showed us, like, whether it's Brian Ortega's camp, Anderson Silva's camp, whether if it was Kevin Ross, like, we were training in garages and we were training in different gyms. We were bouncing all over the place because we had to just find places to train. And you realize it's not the location, it's the intent of what we're looking at for training. And so, to go back to, like, Muay Thai gave me all the lessons that I need to help coach, within Muay Thai, kickboxing, within MMA, and also with my athletes that are in the NFL, the NBA. Like, having that attachment to where I competed, I had to train like pro, and I was around, like, the top legends, right? Growing, that's impossible in any other sport. Nowhere in basketball are you training with Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, like, just happen to be in the gym, getting that chance, or even getting to watch them ringside. Nowhere in baseball are you able to just jump in and play with the top players. But in Muay Thai, we have that honor to be able to train with the greatest, whether it's a seminar, whether it's going over to their gym and just watching how they move, watching how they handle themselves, watching how they go through their routines every day, and seeing that those routines are the key parts of their success instead of, like, just a thing that they're doing. So that's why I always give advice to next generation, is to be open, to listen, to learn, and to listen twice as much as you speak. because there's a lot of great advice and experience out there. And that's not saying that, you know, we don't have something to provide. It just means that no matter how great you are, if these other legends like Kevin, like Anderson, they're all listening to other people, then we definitely need to listen more.
Yeah. Dang, I didn't even think of it about it that way. That's crazy. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Watch this. Like if you watch, I think Kobe is one of the best examples of this. If you really watch like some of his highlights, and if you look up different interviews, you'll see like he's asking questions constantly to Michael Jordan when he was like, I want to face Michael Jordan, and he lost to him, right? Michael Jordan just handled him. He was asking questions like, why did you do this? Why did you move like this? He asked that of Shaq. He asked that of Magic Johnson. He asked that of bench players, right? Because he said that anyone who's in this game has something to offer him. Yeah. Some tidbit that he can understand the technique a little bit better. And, you know, Muay Thai was the way that I got to learn that, because I had the honor of, you know, even when I was in Thailand, to train with Pedek, to train with Anawat, to train with Sanchai, right? Not go to a seminar, but to just go to their gym, spend a few days or spend a few months. And, you know, I always laughed that I spent 5 days with Sanchai, and I said, I learned a lot, like the way I catch my kicks, sweep. It's still from those 4 days, 5 days I spent with him. Like those techniques are ingrained into me. Yeah. But I also saw that he's not going to bring the attributes and the style that's going to match me. He has very different attributes than what I provide. So I went to go find the style that matches me best at the long run. But I still took the opportunity to go learn and watch these legends and see how they conduct themselves, how they train. And that has reverberated, and that investment has grown so much over the last 10, 12 years. It's just an amazing journey.
Awesome. And Jason, I just want to thank you for doing this. I could talk to you for like 2 hours, but I just, you have inspired the show even more, and just listening to your journey and knowing where you're coming from. And I just want to thank you again for doing this show. And where do people find you on Instagram, on wherever you want people to find you? Where do they find you at?
Yeah. So, you know, my old Instagram got disabled earlier last year. We just ran into a problem, so I just switched over. People can get at dr.jason.park, no special spelling. And if they have any questions on sports performance, on rehab, they can also reach us at coolheartperformance.com.
Awesome.
And, you know, you're always welcome to have me on the show. Just reach out anytime. I always love these conversations, because at the end, I want to elevate our Muay Thai community here in the United States and worldwide. Like, it is a very special sport, and it's an honor for all of us to be able to carry this forward.
Yeah. And that's why you've gotten so far, and you're thinking like that is the reason why you're doing so good. So I just want to thank you again for doing this, you guys. Dr. Jason Park, and yeah, on to the next interview.